Most people, when they think about China, they think cheap. Cheap factories, cheap products, higher margins. And naturally, the mind goes there. If I can get this for cheaper, I can sell it for more. You start doing the math in your head. My Shopify store is going to work. I'm going to blow this out of the water. This product could 10x, maybe even 30x. My name is Dwayne Scott. I design supply chain systems that turn Chinese factories into operational assets for brands. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through my 3-step map framework to guide you with clarity. Now, what looks like an opportunity at the beginning can very quickly turn into a problem that you didn't plan for. So let's slow this down for a second and think about what's really going on and how best to approach it. In the last 13 years working with factories in China, I've noticed something very consistent. Most people don't ask the deeper questions. They don't ask, what is the performance history of this company? Do they even have a capable production system? What is the quality actually going to be like? Can this factory consistently deliver on time? What happens when production goes wrong? Who's going to be responsible for it? Instead, the focus stays on one variable, price. And this is where the shift can happen. You can move from being a buyer to becoming your own sourcing architect to protect your brand. But the mindset doesn't seem to fully change. Why? Because as a consumer, we're all trained to look for deals. As a sourcing architect, you're responsible for outcomes for your brand. And those are two very different games. Now, I remember something my dad used to say. He said, cheap things are not good and good things are not cheap. At the time, it sounded so simple, but in sourcing, it becomes very real because what you're actually doing here is making a trade-off. So the real question isn't, how do I get the cheapest price? The real question is, what am I trading off to get this price? Is it quality? Reliability? What about communication? How about problem solving? You see, those trade-offs, they don't show up at the beginning. They show up later, much later on, after production is completed, and sometimes after shipment, when it's just impossible to fix. So, most people would say, in hindsight, I should have just paid the extra 20 cents or 50 cents per unit to the more professional factory. Now let me guide you into the next step. If price alone isn't the answer, how do we actually determine what is a fair price for a system that is capable of producing? Strategy number 1, getting the fair price. We let the market tell us what a fair price is. And when I say the market, I don't mean guessing. I mean something very simple. You go out and you get multiple perspectives. In practical terms, what I mean is you speak to 7 to 11 factories and get quotations. Not 1, not 2, not 3, because price is just an opinion, right? But when you have at least 7 factories, you'll start to see a pattern. You'll see a low range, a high range, and somewhere in the middle, a cluster of prices, an average. And this is where things get really interesting. Let's say one factory comes in at $50 and the average is $25. Most people immediately think, hey, that's way too expensive. But instead of rejecting it, you pause and you ask a better question. You say, hey, help me understand, why is your price higher compared to the other factories? And then you listen, because there might be a reason, a very good reason. Maybe better materials, stronger QC, a more established supply chain, more experienced workers, more stable systems. Now, look at the opposite. A factory quotes you $15 when everyone else is around $25. Same approach, no judgment, just curiosity. Let's go deeper. You ask the factory, hey, can you walk me through how you are achieving this price? Because now you're not comparing numbers, you're comparing how each factory operates. And that's a very different conversation. But for this to work, we need to go one more layer deep. Strategy number 2, the BOM system. This is where a simple tool changes everything. You create a bill of materials or a BOM, BOM. And don't overcomplicate it. This is just a way of saying, let's define what we're actually asking for. Materials, colors, logos, finishing, construction. To make it easier, let's take an example of a BOM. All right, let's take an example of a BOM, okay? This is an example of a trucker cap that we're using. So we've got a BOM template, and let's go through it. So at the top here, you've got your company name, the sourcing architect, right? Your product name, the sourcing architect trucker cap. You put the date, right? And the revision letter. So we start off with A. And remember, the BOM, what's great about this tool is that it's an iterative process. So you're going back and forth using this as a tool to actually record all the information between you and your factories. And every time there's a change and you update it, then the revision letter will go up. So it'll be A, change, then B, change, then C, change, then D, and so on, right? Why? Because then it keeps track. So everybody should be on the same revision letter and all the information will then be present, okay? Let's dive into the actual features here and how it works. So with our views, right here, this one here is a 3D or isometric view, and the internal view here is to the left, right? And what we're looking at is we see these numbers, right? Each number in a circle then points to a certain feature. So number 1, we call it a balloon, points to the front panel here, right? And when we look down at the description, we will see that item 1 is the foam front panels. What is the material? It's a padded polyester foam. The color is black, okay? Quantity is 1 front panel, but in reality, there are 2, okay? But it's okay because your factory, if they're professional enough, will guide you through it. They will say, you really want 2 front panels because in total, there are usually 6 panels for a cap, okay? So what your job is to just get the information there and present it. The factory's job is to be the one who is the professional manufacturer. They know these details inside out. And if they're struggling with it, then that's a good indication of the level of capability of that factory, okay? So as you go through it, you've got different features. Let's take a look at number 8. So number 8 here is what they call the care label, right? It's the inside tag that you see on most garments, hats, and so on. And here you can actually put your logo as well, and also care instructions, okay? So number 8 will say care label. It's made out of polyester, right? The material, and it's white, all right? And you just keep going. Now with caps, you've got different backing. So it's good to have a back view and you can show what the material is, and in this case it's number 6. So it's a plastic snapback closure, okay? The color here could be black, orange, you name it, right? So I've done a cap where we actually had something similar. It was black, then we changed it to orange, and then we changed the snapback from black to orange, okay? So that's why it's important to keep your revision letters. It's important to have all the information present here, okay? And then at the end, when it's ready for a sampling, you can approve it and your factory can approve it, so everybody signs off on it, okay? And we know what the revision letter is. So this is a good way to keep everything on track to get a fair price, because then you will take this same BOM with all the specifications and all the details and give it to your 7 to 11 factories for quotation, right? Everybody should be quoting you on the same exact features. Then from there, you will know the highs, the lows, and the cluster in the middle that gives you a fair market price from your factories. Okay, hope this helped. Now, you're creating clarity. So instead of saying, can you quote this product? What you're really saying is, can you quote this exact version of the product? Then you send the same document, the same BOM to every factory, and something powerful happens. You remove ambiguity and you create alignment. And now the quotes you receive are actually comparable. You're comparing apples to apples. You're not guessing anymore. You're working with a system. But here's something I want to address, because this is where most people hesitate. What if I don't know the materials? What if I don't know the technical details? Great, that's okay. You're not supposed to. You're not supposed to know everything. And in fact, it's just part of the process, right? So this brings me to strategy number 3. Act like you don't know much. You see, a professional factory won't just give you a price. They will engage with you. And that engagement is one of the strongest indicators of a factory's capability and performance. They'll ask, what material are you aiming for? What finish do you want? What's the end use of this product? And they will make recommendations. It's very similar to going to a doctor. The doctor doesn't ask you to self-diagnose yourself. They guide you by asking you the right questions. And a professional factory will do the same. And now you're not just collecting quotations, you're actually identifying who actually knows what they're talking about, who has a real technical understanding, and who has a real capable production system that gives you the confidence to move forward. So, this is where we talk about progress. Now you're cooking with gas, you're making progress, and you have multiple quotes, a structured comparison, real conversations. This is where your decision starts to take shape. But here's the key. You're no longer choosing the cheapest. You're choosing the most capable supplier. Because the best price is not just a number anymore. It's a combination of quality, delivery, production capability, communication, problem solving. And this is where experience starts to guide you, as it did for me. You begin to notice small things, how quickly they respond, how clear they were able to explain. Can they actually walk you through their process without hesitation? You see, even if you didn't fully understand it, you can feel the difference. And here's a simple technique, one that I use when I don't know much. I take one factory's explanation and ask it to another factory. And then you start to build a 360-degree view, and patterns begin to emerge. Some responses are really structured, some are vague, some are totally disconnected from production entirely. And slowly, the right choice becomes clear. So, let's bring this back to where we first started. Here's the takeaway. China doesn't have the cheapest factories. It has a wide range of factories operating at different levels. And as a guide, I would suggest not focusing strictly on chasing the lowest price. Your job is to understand the trade-offs and make a decision that you can stand behind. And more importantly, choose a factory that will stand behind you. Because what you're really building here is not just a product. You're building a relationship, a system, an operation that supports your business and your brand, repeat order after repeat order for the long term. What you're actually building is an asset. So take your time with this. Ask better questions. Let the market guide you. And remember, you don't really need more effort and you don't need to contact hundreds of suppliers. You just need a better map, mindset, approach, and progress. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, check out the 5 biggest mistakes to avoid when buying from China up here. Or if you want to see one of our factory tours, check it up here.